Welcome, Internet. So, today, I have run out of things to do right now that I feel like I could get done in the time frame that I need to. And I figured, you know what, let's try something different today. And I remembered Game Grumps doing this episode that was hilarious where they went through Clickhole, where you do fake, those weird fake internet quiz things. And so I decided to go through it. I'm on page 3. So, you know what? We're going to take a look at some of these and see if we can get one. This one seemed pretty funny and interesting because I like Good and Plenty's. I know that's a controversial statement for some, but that's okay. I like Good and Plenty's. Just kind of thinking of doing this one, so I wanted to get in here before I clicked on it so we could experience this together. So let's go ahead and take a quiz for online, kind of like The Onion or, you know, Babylon Bee or something like that, where it's one of those weird, goofy parody style websites. So here we go. My name is Harris Treft, and I invented a new kind of Good and Plenty for cattle. Would you care to try one? Honestly, I might consider it if it's black licorice, but we'll see. So, good evening. Harris is the name. Harris Treft. Sorry to bother you, fine sir or madam, but I have a proposition for you. I've been developing a new kind of Good and Plenty for cattle, and I'd appreciate it if you tried it and let me know what you think, as cattle are incapable of giving me the measured feedback I require. I need to make this candy as good as possible, as the plan is to sell the recipe to Good and Plenty so I can finally pay off my houseboat. Your help will be critical in making this happen. 1. Are you ready to try my Good and Plenty for cattle? Sure. 2. Wonderful. Harris is pleased to hear this. I first got the idea to make Good and Plenty for cattle when I was driving around in a field one day and noticed that none of the cattle in the field were enjoying Good and Plenty's. I found this troubling, so I took out the phone book, got on the horn with Good and Plenty, and asked if they had any suggestions for what to do. They did not. But I'm a resourceful fellow. So I said to myself, you know, just because I don't have a fancy degree in Good and Plenty making, or even know what Good and Plenty tastes like due to my severe carnauba wax allergy, doesn't mean I can't figure it out. So I decided to give it a whirl. 14 minutes later, and I had made this. Give it a try and tell me what you think. I don't know what that is. It looks like a little weird either tea pellet type thing, or maybe, what is that? Like a vitamin? Maybe it's a weed pellet? I don't know. Wow, that looks like a Good and Plenty for cattle, all right. Nice. I've seen better, but I'm sure the final version will look nicer. Or, wait, I have to eat that? Oh no. Which one should we go with? Let's go with this last one. I have to eat that. Because I don't know if I'd want to eat that. Now, of course, we all know that God is death and the world is run by the lawyers who killed him. So I do have to ask for legal purposes if you agree to incur any and all risk posed by eating Good and Plenty for cattle, including side effects such as muscle failure, diarrheal quandaries, eyeball exclusiveness, internal melting, too many lips disease, and certain death. What? That would probably be my first question. Diarrheal quandaries? Like, you're questioning your life decisions kind of a stuff? Like, you're not sure? Because that is not two words that you want to see together. Especially not a side effect. So should I agree? Maybe? No? I might... You know, my honest answer would have been, what? So we'll go with that. Now, before actually biting into the Good and Plenty, or even sucking on it really, it'd probably be best for you to just let it rest on your tongue for about 15 minutes to make sure it doesn't trigger any reactions or anything. Please go ahead and do this. Then let me know what you think. Yum! After putting it on my tongue for 15 minutes, I can confirm that this Good and Plenty for cattle tastes just as good as regular Good and Plenty. Something about this reminds me of batteries. Like that weird metal acid taste that batteries have. But overall, still really good. Whoa. Why, what's wrong? My voice is wrong. And then, oh God, I feel awful. I think I need to lie down. What do you think is in that? Do you think I would think it tastes like? I don't think it would taste like Good and Plenty. It didn't look like it was Good and Plenty. It probably tastes weird. So one of these three. Probably that one. Okay, now that it has rested on your tongue for a while, go ahead and chew and swallow the Good and Plenty. Then tell me what you think. It is fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Or it tastes alright, but something definitely feels off. Ow, my mouth feels damaged. I feel even worse than before. I'm not okay. I need you to call me an ambulance. That one sounds the funniest. We'll go with that. Wonderful. Wonderful. Sounds like you're enjoying the Good and Plenty for cattle. One quick thing I should have mentioned. Now, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but cattle have all sorts of bonus stomachs and tongues and whatnot, so the way they digest Good and Plenties is going to be dramatically different from how single-stomached folks like yourself digest them. Therefore, you probably shouldn't expect the digestion process to go very smoothly for you. To be clear, this is an issue caused by your own digestive inadequacies and not the candy itself. So you can rest assured that cattle will not be harmed by this product. But still, you're probably suffering a bit of gastrointestinal agony right now, correct? Actually, I feel great. Or, yeah, I'm feeling pretty bad. Or, oh, this hurts. I am double over with stomach pain. Or, I think Good and Plenty killed my digestive system. It feels like it just stopped working entirely. I really think my body might be shutting down now. Or, yeah, it's just shutting down. Please call an ambulance if you haven't already. Probably the third one. Because unless it's some sort of really bad substance, it probably give you the squirts, I would suspect. Maybe not feel so good, but as long as it's not poisonous or something. Thank you for your input. It will go a long way towards helping me achieve my dream of providing cattle with a third choice of food besides hay and grass. We are changing the world for the better. However, it should be noted that due to their baffling digestive systems, cows can eat their own food, swallowing it, regurgitating it, and then chewing it a second time. And if you don't do the same, then I'm afraid your feedback will be useless. So could you please go ahead and regurgitate the Good and Plenty, and then eat it again like a cow would? Way ahead of you. Already did it. Well, I can't say I particularly enjoy eating something I just regurgitated, but I could definitely see a cow liking it. This is so unpleasant. Why am I doing this? This is terrible. We'll do that one, the ambulance one again. That'd be funny. And brilliant. Thank you. Having now experienced the Good and Plenty exactly as a cow would, can you give me your honest opinion of the candy? Do you think cattle will actually enjoy the Good and Plenty I have made for them? I think cattle will go absolutely crazy for this wonderful new treat you've made for them. You've truly outdone yourself, Mr. Treft. Congratulations. I'll be totally honest, the Good and Plenty wasn't that great. But then again, it's probably still better than grass or whatever. So, sure, I think cattle would like it. Enjoy? No, but they'll probably eat them anyway because they're cows and cows aren't smart. Or indiscernible gurgling sounds. Ooh, do you think we'd be dying after this? I think with enough of those answers we'd be dying. So we'll do that one. Thanks to your tough yet fair feedback, Mr. Treff decided it wasn't worth even bothering with his invention. He realized that he doesn't have good ideas, and he's not a person who will ever change the world for the better. So, in the interest of not being a burden on the rest of mankind, he decided to commit suicide by covering himself with good and plenties and having cattle eat him alive. But if they don't eat the stuff, how would they eat him? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, should we try another one? Because that was a goofy one. Let's try one more. Let's see. Creepy message I wrote in blood on your bathroom mirror. How many passive-aggressive comments has your dad made about Spider-Man out of jealousy? Honestly, that would be me. Let's see. Can you successfully smuggle a fun-sized Kit Kat into a movie theater? Know the lyrics to Imagine. That's such a stupid song. Sadly, I kind of know the lyrics, or at least I recognize it pretty easily. I don't care for that song. Can you teach it Big Bird to act appropriately in court during his upcoming murder trial? Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. Can you help Keith Urban write a song? He's a country singer, if I remember right. How many of these things have you named your Wi-Fi network to subtly encourage your upstairs? That's pretty funny. Probably not. Because I'm not good enough at editing to really be able to get that taken care of. Do you have the prancing, whistling, and juggling skills it takes to become a Navy SEAL? Well, I haven't given birth, so I can't do that one. Sorry. Can you tell the difference between real Mrs. Lisa and an imposter? Let's do this one. Alright. So everyone knows that Miss Lisa is a 64-year-old graphic designer with a penchant for gardening and a heart of gold. However, the world is full of imposters looking to steal a piece of her notoriety for themselves. Can you tell the difference between real Mrs. Lisa and an imposter? Take the quiz to find out. Let's start off with an easy one. Miss Lisa loves to relax after a long day of graphic design by sitting really still in her garden. Which of these women having a nice time outside is the real Mrs. Lisa? Which one? No, she's not. None of these seem like a garden. This one, Kaya. Ooh. Oh, big yawn. Oh man, I'm tired. I should not be this tired. Should we do this one? That is because this is on a trail. These are all just ladies on a trail, but this lady on the bottom right, she seems the happiest looking. And this lady just seems to be relaxing. These ones seem like they're watching something. I don't trust the eyes on that one. We'll click on her. Mrs. Lisa is absolutely gorgeous, unlike her graphic design nemesis, Carla Rotino. Oh, I bet I clicked on her. Mrs. Lisa runs a very successful graphic design company. Oh, another yawn. With friendly services and competitive rates. Unfortunately, there are several false companies run by imposters who are pretending to be Miss Lisa, just to make a quick buck. Which of these graphic design companies is the real Mrs. Lisa's? Is it Mrs. Lisa's Graphic Design Studio, Miss Lisa Graphic Design, #1 Best Graphic Design Studio by Mrs. Lisa, or Mrs. Lisa's Great Designs? Ooh. I feel like #4 would be it. Number one would be somebody trying to be like, oh, if you Google graphic design, mine will pop up first. So I feel like that would have been hers. The name of the real Mrs. Lisa's company is straightforward and to the point, just like Mrs. Lisa herself. Do not hire the fraudulent companies for graphic designs. Oh, hey, it's another version of the lady we picked. I wonder if that changes based on who you pick. Though Miss Lisa has many imposters, none are more evil than Carla. Oh, I cannot talk when I'm yawning at the same time. That's impossible. None are more evil than Carla Rotino. Carla Rotino resents Mrs. Lisa because Mrs. Lisa is a better graphic designer than she is. Now she spends all her time impersonating Miss Lisa with her own demented gain. Oh, for her own demented gain. So is that Miss Lisa? Then the lady's trying to be her, or is that the other lady? We love you, Miss Lisa. For fun, Miss Lisa likes to pop on her reading glasses and read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. She's been reading it for the past 12 years. Wow, that's a long time. And she hopes to finish it soon. Which one of these photos shows the real Mrs. Lisa wearing her reading glasses? Ugh. That one's got reading glasses. But I've been picking this lady, so I'm going to stick with it. Mrs. Lisa is the one who is totally radiant. Everyone else is a nobody, loser, imposter. Especially Carla Rotino, whose heart is a bottomless pit of darkness. I'm starting to wonder if maybe Mrs. Lisa is the one who wrote this. Or if the person who wrote this really likes Mrs. Lisa. One time, Carla Rotino showed up at the real Mrs. Lisa's house. And when Mrs. Lisa's live-in boyfriend opened the door, Carla said, "It's me, your live-in girlfriend, Mrs. Lisa." The live-in boyfriend was skeptical that it was really Mrs. Lisa. So Carla held up her hand and said, "If I weren't the real Mrs. Lisa, would this be my hand? Come now, let's go on a boat together." The live-in boyfriend agreed and spent the next 6 weeks with a false Mrs. Lisa, a.k.a. Carla Rotino, on an Alaskan cruise. Meanwhile, the real Mrs. Lisa presumed that he died, so she dumped his ass and got a different live-in boyfriend. Are you able to tell which is the real Mrs. Lisa's hand? Ooh, these are all tough ones, but to match that one, but the skin's too... Skin's too tanned on that one for the one lady, so I'm going to go with this one. We'll see. Only the real Mrs. Lisa's hand is capable of incredible graphic design. The imposter hands have never even downloaded Adobe Photoshop, let alone mastered it. Mrs. Lisa has an incredible scent that fills her room whenever she enters. What does the real Mrs. Lisa smell like? Ocean, rotten moss, chicken Vesuvio, or amazing flowers? Obviously, it has to be amazing flowers because we all know Mrs. Lisa's amazing, right? Mrs. Lisa smells like flowers because she spends so much time sitting like that in a statue in her garden. Sitting like a statue in her garden. If you smell any other scent, you should run and hide because you've encountered an imposter, possibly even the evil Carla Rotino. Let's make things a little more difficult. When Mrs. Lisa reads something shocking in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, she sends a text to her live-in boyfriend. What did the real Mrs. Lisa most recently text her live-in boyfriend? I have no idea. Sirius Black. Good. I am on page 3 of the book. I wish to meet a hippogriff. Make that happen for me. Or Harry just saved himself from the Dementors. Ooh. I don't know the books that well, but probably this one. Mrs. Lisa was incredibly surprised to learn that Sirius Black was wrongfully imprisoned in Azkaban. Spoiler alert, come on. Keep reading, Mrs. Lisa. We can't wait to hear your thoughts on what comes next. Mrs. Lisa's aging pet ferret means the world to her. Which of these is the real Mrs. Lisa's pet ferret? Hint. Oh, here's a hint. Mrs. Lisa's ferret is the cutest one. Ooh. Ooh. Alright, well, which one's the cutest? Any answer is wrong and right at the same time. Ooh, this one seems pretty cute. This one's pretty cute with him little head poking up out of the grass. Fun fact, if you ever watch ferrets play, they look like they are trying to murder each other. And they squeal and scream. It is crazy. I don't have ferrets, but I've seen them play, and it's crazy. Let's go this one. Because he's being all cute and nibbling food. Mrs. Lisa's pet ferret is named Mrs. Phoebe. Although Mrs. Phoebe is 12 years old. I don't think that's how long ferrets live. Which is extremely elderly for a ferret. She will outlive all of Mrs. Lisa's imposters. Ooh, have I been picking the wrong Mrs. Lisa? I think I have. Mrs. Lisa puts her graphic design skills to use on every year to send out an awesome Christmas card. Which of these photos is the real Mrs. Lisa's 2019 Christmas card? Obviously, it has to be that one. Mrs. Lisa's card is awesome, unlike the terrible one that Carla Rotino made on behalf of all of the Mrs. Lisa imposters. Although Mrs. Lisa wishes she did not have imposters, she accepts her lot in life and prays for them every night. What does Mrs. Lisa say every night when she prays? Please make me more like Mrs. Lisa. Well, if she is, she wouldn't say that. Dear Lord, please watch over me, my live-in boyfriend, and my incredible ferret, and let all of my imposters find peace. Probably, because Mrs. Lisa's amazing. Mrs. Lisa prayer, thank you. That sounds like an imposter one. This is Mrs. Lisa, a.k.a. Carla Rotino, and I pray that one day I will become like Mrs. Lisa. It has to be the second one. Because she's this sweet little old lady, so of course that's the one. The real Mrs. Lisa says a solemn prayer, and beautiful prayer, which is why God smiles on her and frowns on her imposters. 4 out of 10. You are not particularly great at identifying the real Mrs. Lisa over an imposter, which is a shame. Because it's absolutely awesome to know all there is to know about the real Mrs. Lisa. To avoid getting fooled by an imposter, like the awful false Mrs. Lisa, Carla Rotino, you should brush up on your Mrs. Lisa knowledge by subscribing to the real Mrs. Lisa's quarterly newsnet letter. Mrs. Lisa's Favorite Designs Quarterly. Okay, that's pretty goofy. Yeah, I must have picked the wrong one. I wonder if I can go. Oh, which ones did I get wrong? This one. See, I didn't know the books very well, but I can't go back and change it. Yep. See, I picked that one and it's not. It's that one. And... oh, see, I picked that one too. Wrong. I got the wrong Mrs. Lisa. I'm not good at knowing which one's Mrs. Lisa. Well, maybe you guys can do a better job. Maybe you can figure out who's the real Mrs. Lisa. Obviously, spoiler alerts, this is the real Mrs. Lisa. Anyway, you know what? This is something different. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. If you liked it, hit the like. If you want to see more, subscribe. I do try to post every week at least. I try. It might not be great, but I do try. And until next time, have fun.